I've been getting it since a toddler. I keep dollars on my head. Been a real one is my motto. Handle my problems, I ain't scared.
Yo, welcome back, Pacer Nation, Pacer Station fans everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Now today we got the first review season of the episode of the season. We're just gonna review almost every game, probably mostly just important games. I don't know if we'll be able to do every game, but almost every game, if not every game. But today, of course, obviously there was a very important game in regarding the Pacers world. First game back, and first of all, let me just say it was so great just to see that the NBA is starting again. Whenever I first found out, it was great, and it's even greater today seeing it happen for the Pacers. Lakers, other teams played previously in recent days, but today we saw our first action of the Pacers. That wasn't a scrimmage game. Didn't get to see Domas as expected. Didn't get to see Brogdon, which I wasn't expecting until today, but came out with the W. And while I didn't watch the game, I did just see highlights, and I'm going to go ahead and defer to Coach Jay. Let Coach Jay talk to y'all about the game and what he took from it, and then I'll go ahead and say what I took from the highlights. So go ahead, Coach Jay. What's good?
Yeah, this was a very important win. Philly and Indiana were tied in the standings for the fifth spot in the East. They had identical records. The Pacers took the tiebreaker tonight by taking the season series against Philadelphia 3-1.
Yes, sir.
So if both teams should finish with identical records, the Pacers would have the upper hand in the seeding. The biggest takeaway I took from tonight's game was just the mental toughness of the team as a whole. Obviously, T.J. Warren, broke loose tonight for 53 points, and
yes,
just they really didn't have a matchup for him, but to the untrained eye, it looks like he just went off. But the reality was, every shot he took was in rhythm. Every shot was within the structure of the offense.
Absolutely.
So T.J. Warren was playing no differently than Steve Kerr did for the Bulls. He was just playing a position and playing his role. And the Sixers defense just gave up open look after open look for him. He wasn't forcing any of these shots. He was completely under control. And the Sixers, didn't respect him and left him open, and they paid the price for it.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. And today just furthers my excitement for it's a little bit off focus here, but when we play Miami, seeing TJ and Jimmy go at it again. Jimmy had 21 points today. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I can't wait to see the feistiness that happens in that game. I cannot wait to see TJ do hopefully he's not going to drop 50 every game. We know that, but if he can consistently score like this in the playoffs, like score big games, he'll be an all-star in a few years, especially if he can carry into the regular season.
Yeah, my big again, the mental toughness is what I took away. They were down 10 points with about 8 minutes to go. I think it was 98-88 or something along those lines.
Yes,
and Nate called a timeout, and I don't know what he said in that huddle, but the Pacers, got locked in defensively. They started moving the ball again, and the rest is history. T.J. Warren got hot again in the fourth quarter. He really scored most of his points in the first half. He had 19 in the first quarter, 29 in the first half, and I just, and you saw the lack of mental toughness from the Philadelphia 76ers. Once they got that 10-point lead, they started committing dumb fouls. They started, trying to make the fancy play instead of the winning play. And the Pacers, took advantage of it. They just kept playing. And that's, and I can speak from previous championship seasons of other teams, that the teams that tend to have success in the playoffs are teams that can consistently come back from deficits during the regular season and win games. So if I remember correctly, the 98 Pacers definitely fit that mold. And as a result, they performed very well in the playoffs and were one jump ball away from defeating the Chicago Bulls. I'm not saying this team is that good yet. It's only one game. But I am saying that teams that can consistently come back from deficits are
and teams that can play without
better.
Teams that can play without big pieces the way we can. It feels like when we lose big pieces, it's not even a big piece.
Yeah, that's their mental toughness. They, I coach basketball, and one of my favorite phrases that I use in practice is that mental toughness is the art of not making excuses.
Right.
They were without Brogdon. They were without
Sabonis.
Turner fouled out. He finished under double figures. They said, nope, we're still going to win. And, that's what playoff teams do.
Right.
If I'm a top 4 team, I don't want to play them
at all. You contacted me. We was talking in the, I think it was around the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and you was telling me you loved how physical they was being with Embiid. Now, Embiid did end with 41 and 21. How did you feel about their overall play, the way we defended Embiid and the way we attacked him on offensively? Although it was not very much attacking Embiid offensively, it was a lot of TJ Warren.
Well, the only complaint I would have is the offensive rebounds. But again, you're playing without Sabonis. You're playing without Goga. You're trying to defend one of the most physically imposing players in the NBA with Miles Turner, Jakar Sampson, and TJ Leaf, and I just felt like
TJ Leaf.
I just felt like the Pacers just out effort. I knew Embiid was going to have a big game tonight because Sabonis wasn't playing.
Right.
If you told me going into this game that, Embiid would have, 41 points and 20 plus boards and the Pacers would have won by 6, I would not have believed you. But at the same time, just as we had trouble defending Embiid, they had a hard time defending our small lineup.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody knows this, but the Philadelphia 76ers, I think, have the worst road record in the bubble of any team. I don't even think they've won double-figure games on the road. And so they depend on playing in front of their home fans. So, they got an easy schedule in the bubble, but I'm still not convinced they're going to be able to win a lot of games because of their lack of mental toughness and inability to win in a situation where their home fans are not present.
Right. Again, I only saw today. I'm going to go back and watch the full game as I did with most of the scrimmages, but I only saw highlights of the game today, and I don't know if this is speaking for the whole game, but man, I love the way TJ McConnell plays. TJ McConnell, it feels like he's a great bench point guard to have come off the bench for any team when it comes to mental toughness that you've been talking about and things like that. He does all the extra stuff, all the little things.
He's a pest. He kind of reminds me of, he's a totally different player, but he kind of reminds me of Matthew Dellavedova when he was playing with Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. He's just a guy. He's a pest.
For sure.
He plays great defense. He steals inbounds passes.
It's it's one of my favorite bench players we've had in a while. I just love the energy he brings in total. Again, like you said, he is a pest. He's a bulldog. It's awesome. Him and TJ Warren seemed to have great chemistry going on out there whenever I was looking at the highlights.
Yeah. Forget the fact that he's one of the toughest players on our team. He's also got ridiculous court vision. He always seems to make the right pass.
For sure.
And, he had a couple of passes to McDermott on back cuts that were –
Yes, sir. I saw a bounce pass.
It looked like he looked like John Stockton out there.
Gorgeous passes. Yeah, it's just I couldn't ask for a better veteran point guard to come off the bench for us in playoff situations and in tough situations as a whole. It seemed like every other play I watched on there, he was making the extra play, making a save. Like you said, the pass. I saw one beautiful bounce pass to McDermott. Just plays like that, and that can really come up big for us in playoff games.
Well, speaking of bench point guards, Aaron Holiday quietly had an excellent game. was aggressive as he usually is, but he played very under control. He had a few key layups late in the fourth quarter.
Yes, sir.
That really started to allow us to push away.
For sure. That was basically on the same play, too. Basically ran the same play. I saw back layup.
I think he got – one of the layups he hit was a and one with Joel Embiid. And you could just see the frustration on Joel Embiid's face. And I see that look on his face every time he plays the Pacers.
Yeah.
So, I honestly, if we end up with a playoff matchup with them, especially if Sabonis comes back, I would love our chances against them.
I would love that. Would be a great series, I feel like, too.
Oh, it would be physical as hell, and I think I think Joel Embiid might get a couple of technicals, which is always entertaining.
Very entertaining. Joel Embiid's an entertaining player to watch. Period. Very entertaining. And anyway,
no disrespect to him, he's a great player.
If he's not going off in games, then he's crying. If he's not, he's pouting about something. He's angry. There's always something going on, and it feels like in Embiid's world.
Yeah, he's too busy trying to get in the other team's head, and he's not focusing on playing.
Right. Since I didn't watch the game, I just wanted to – did Ben Simmons hit a three at all?
No, he was 0 for 0 tonight.
Oh, man, I always got to ask that anytime it feels like 76ers play because it feels like such big news whenever he hits threes. Such big news.
That's a huge problem for them.
For sure.
And it's not just Simmons. They don't have a lot of shooting period on that team. They were fools to let McConnell go. They were fools to let JJ Redick go.
Right.
And I think for what they signed Horford for, they should have kept Redick and McConnell at least.
Right.
That front office seems to be pretty dysfunctional.
Right. And
they're going to have to make a change there. Not just with the coaching staff, but the front office as well. If that team's going to stay together, much less make a deep playoff run.
All right. I want to get a little bit back into the Warren stuff, but before we get back to talking about TJ Warren again, I wanted to ask you about a player there's been a lot of talk about in the Pacers world entered the bubble, Miles Turner, in the game he had today. Like you said, he did foul out. How do you feel about his play entering the rest of the season, the playoffs after tonight and the scrimmages so far?
Well, tonight he had a tough game. You got to ask yourself as a fan, if I'm going to be banging against somebody like Joel Embiid, he's going to be screaming in my face every time he dunks on me.
Yeah.
For what Miles was dealing with, he kept his head on straight pretty well.
Right.
But, normally when the Pacers play the Sixers, it's Sabonis matching up against him.
Yeah, and handling it. Yes, sir.
So, I'm going to cut Miles some slack tonight. It's the first game of the bubble season.
Absolutely.
I thought, Miles struggled early. I felt like he was rattled early. But to his credit, in the fourth quarter, he hit a couple of threes late, one of which out of the corner. I'm sure everybody who watched the game saw it.
Yeah.
I just think to his credit, he fought back and regained his composure. I think Miles Turner, in addition to being a solid contributor for us, is also a great kid and a great man.
For sure.
So I would, I'm not saying I'm taking back the Aaron Gordon theory yet, but you gotta, as a fan, I think sometimes we forget how valuable people are in the locker room. Absolutely. Everybody remembers when Larry Bird traded Danny Granger and the team kind of tanked after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because you took the leader out of the locker room. Team chemistry is incredibly hard to establish, and it is incredibly hard to maintain. Just taking one key guy out of the locker room could turn the team into a tailspin. So, instead of, before we start talking about, trade Miles Turner, trade Victor Oladipo or something, let's remember how good our team chemistry and mental toughness is, and remember how hard that is to establish.
Right. let's make sure we put off the court into play, not just on court stuff. Because off the court
Absolutely.
does have a lot to do with basketball. The mental part of basketball is a very important part that people seem to kind of omit when they talk about the sport sometimes. But yeah, I completely agree. I feel like Miles. I did see he fouled out. I did see that three he hit closer to the end of the game in the corner. It was great to see him end off like that in the night like that. He didn't just go out sad. But I'm not too worried about Miles. I feel like he'll. I don't know if it's. I don't know where things are with him. If I'm completely honest, it feels like so many people think he'll be gone. Some people think that he's gonna still be here. Some people think he'll be a Pacer to the end of his career. It feels like people's thoughts on Miles is kind of all over the place in regards to where he'll be.
Yeah, well, Jay Michael, who's one of the Pacers insiders, and I think he's if you really want to know what's going on inside the Pacers organization, he's the guy you want to talk to.
Yes, sir.
And he is under the impression the Pacers are not going to deal Miles Turner this summer.
Hey,
unless something dramatic happens.
Right.
So I just don't think Miles is going to get moved, especially if we get out of the first round and make some noise in the playoffs.
For sure.
I think our starting core will stay together for the long haul.
Yeah, I think they really do want to see this starting five play together, and even the bench growing with us. It feels like the collection of players they have right now fits really well if they can get them all to stay healthy and play to their full potential.
Absolutely.
But let's get
they were playing without two of their starters tonight.
Absolutely, for sure. And so, we knew Sabonis was going to be out. I had no idea about Brogdon. It kind of surprised me. I had seen a starting lineup and I saw both the holidays. I was, whoa, is Vic not playing now? Because I just seen he's playing. Look up, Brogdon has a neck injury or whatever. It's tough, but at this point,
it's just a stiff neck. It's not a huge injury. I think Brogdon will be back next game. I think it was more of a precautionary deal.
Cool. That's good news to hear. But the big news of the night, the headline, the part of this game that most people are going to talk about in regards to the Pacers on your sports centers, on your ESPNs, on your Fox Sports ones. TJ Warren, 53 points, as we were talking about earlier. Do you feel like he can he can consistently be a main scorer on a team that makes a deep playoff run?
Yeah, I heard a quote from Victor after the game tonight in his post-game interview, and it made a lot of sense that Victor said, how are you going to stop all of us? We have so many weapons on this team. You can't stop us all. Somebody's going to go off, and tonight was an example of the Sixers spending too much time worrying about Victor Oladipo and not enough time closing out on Warren on the three-point line.
Right.
And tonight you saw that the Pacers have other weapons now, which is why, let's just say Victor never gets back to the 25 point per game score. Not saying he won't. I'm just saying if that happens, is our team going to be less valuable than it was before? I don't think so. I think we have a lot of weapons. And I think as long as Kevin Pritchard continues to turn everything into gold every offseason, I think, Victor's going to be an all-star just because he's playing on a great team.
Right.
If you remember in the midpoint of Reggie Miller's career, early in Reggie's career, he averaged like 25 points a game in 1 year.
Right.
But the team did not get out of the first round. Reggie's golden years when he was averaging 15 to 18 points a game.
For sure.
He would up it in the playoffs, but I think Victor's point totals are going to go down now. But I think the team's wins are going to go up.
For sure. And I think that mentality, what Vic was talking about, really comes into play whenever you have a point guard like Brogdon who can do a little bit of everything to kind of come in and complete it as a whole. You're absolutely right. If you can't stop TJ one night, he'll have nights like tonight. When you're focused on stopping Oladipo, you have guys like Brogdon, you have guys like Sabonis and Miles, just the whole starting lineup, and then versatile guys coming off the bench like both the Holidays, McDermott for shooting. It just feels like this team. It's really hard to find a hole in this team. I wouldn't say it's a flawless team by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very complete team and wholesome whenever they're all healthy and can play together.
Yeah, the other thing that you mentioned Brogdon. When the Pacers' starting backcourt is 100% healthy, the Pacers are. I think they might be the only team in the league. Maybe the Clippers can do this, but the Pacers can literally go into a game. Nate McMillan can game plan and say, okay, like say they're playing Portland,
right,
or they're playing Golden State, who I think have the two best offensive backcourts in the NBA. The Pacers can literally go into that game and say, okay, Victor and Brogdon are going to check Curry and Thompson. I'll put Victor on Curry. I'll put Brogdon on Thompson. Both guys are going to be held under their average. The Pacers' backcourt, when healthy, can literally take the other team's backcourt off the floor and make somebody else beat them. And they can do it without double teaming.
I really feel like they could be the best backcourt in the East. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that. They could really easily be the best backcourt in the East. And I was saying that when we first made the trade for Brogdon. I loved Brogdon's game even before he came to Indiana. I watched him a lot at Virginia whenever Virginia used to play Louisville. That team, the Virginia team that had Justin Anderson, I believe, on it, and all them boys. The team was crazy to watch. And I was always a fan of the Virginia teams. They played great basketball, and I was a big Brogdon fan. And I remember his rookie year.
It's funny.
He dunked on LeBron a couple times, if I'm not remembering incorrectly, or he dunked on LeBron and then dunked on Kyrie, and that pushed a lot of mainstream eyes on him, and he ended up winning Rookie of the Year that year. But I think he'll really flourish under KP Nate McMillan, not KP, under Nate McMillan in this offense and defense.
Yeah, you mentioned Brogdon at Virginia. I can still remember my dad watching our first round pick get traded in 2016, and my dad literally pounding on the couch saying they should have taken Brogdon.
Yeah.
And my dad and I were both kicking ourselves because we wanted him.
Yeah.
We watched him in the NCAA tournament in 2016, and we said that guy's a pacer. He fits everything they're about. He fits at both ends of the floor. He's a great man, in addition to being a great player. And sure enough, the Bucks trade him, and he hits that out of the park from day one.
Yeah, perfect. I can't wait to see the whole starting lineup together when they're all healthy. I can't wait at all. And today made me very confident about, because if you can do this, I mean, it feels like we get hit with random curveballs all the time, and we're always didn't play with Victor a lot of the year, still end up 5th seed in the East. Now we're playing without Brogdon. Domas come out here and get a hard-nosed win. TJ Warren dropping 53 points out of nowhere. It just feels like this team can do a lot of damage, and I would not want to see the Pacers, no matter who's playing, in the playoffs at all.
Well, when they're 100% healthy, they can play with anybody in the league, regardless of conference. I also think what you're going to see is the Pacers, because of they've shown in the bubble, both in scrimmage and in their game today, that they can come back from double-figure deficits.
Yep.
So for example, if I'm the Lakers watching this film, prepping for us, I would say, LeBron knows everything about the Pacers organization because he's played against us so many times, and I could see him looking at this film and saying, okay, they started slow. If that continues, we got to kick them in the teeth early because they're going to come back.
All right.
And to me, that's the only way that a team on our bubble schedule can beat us, is if they get us down by 25 or 30 points early, and there's just not enough time for us to come back.
For sure.
After today, because of how bad a matchup Embiid was for us with Sabonis out, there's really no team on our bubble schedule that scares me.
Really?
I don't think there really isn't a team on our bubble schedule that
Miami damn sure don't scare me. I'm ready Well, I cannot wait to see TJ play Miami again. I've been dreaming about that game so much, and they put our practice court next to theirs for a reason. They had to have for the courts in
Yeah,
Orlando.
and
Have you seen the pictures? It's obviously for a reason.
what? Yeah,
And
Miami did a number on Denver tonight, so they're not bad.
no,
The problem that Miami gives us is not Jimmy Butler; it's Bam Adebayo.
damn out of
Sabonis has been healthy every time we've played them this year, I'm pretty sure. And Adebayo is the only player at Sabonis' position who I've seen get the better of him consistently.
Bam Adebayo is a man. He will make Miles look like look like a baby. Make Miles Turner look like a baby in the paint. Bam's game is crazy.
And if I'm Bam Adebayo and I watch the way Joel Embiid took us apart tonight, I would be liking my chances in this game if Sabonis is not playing. The difference between Miami and Philadelphia is we double teamed Embiid a lot tonight, but because of Embiid's supporting cast, they did not have the spacing around him to make us pay for those double teams.
Miami doesn't have a Ben Simmons in sight. Miami does not have a Ben Simmons. They have.
Well, Miami right now is number one in the NBA in three-point percentage, and they're top 15 in volume.
Yeah, Duncan Robinson, Harrow, Butler. I mean, the list goes on. They don't have a Ben Simmons out there tonight.
Iguodala.
Yeah.
The difference between Miami and Philly is when we double team Miami, we better rotate quick because they've got guys that can knock down threes and make us pay for double teams.
For sure. Absolutely. Miami's one of the main teams I wouldn't want to see in the playoffs. But if we were to play them in the playoffs, I would be barking at Jimmy Butler the whole game. I'm fully on TJ Warren's team in regards to the TJ Warren Jimmy Butler beat. Very, very fun stuff.
I just hope when we see them that TJ Warren plays under control and doesn't try to prove anything.
Yeah, he doesn't.
When he plays in the flow of the offense, he's a 30 and 10 guy.
Yeah. Someone said today that he reminds them of a baby Kawhi, quote unquote. Now, defensively, of course, I don't see a correlation, but in the way they play,
their offensive game is very similar.
Yes, and some people would say what they play is their style of play offensively can be boring to some people, but if you're really into basketball, it's a really fun way to watch and play basketball. Love watching
exactly. TJ Warren might be the most complete offensive player on our team because he can hurt you in so many different ways. You saw tonight the complete package. He
Absolutely,
can hurt you from the 3-point line. He can hurt you in the post. He can hurt you on the drive. I mean, he can hurt you anywhere on the floor, which makes him a tough cover.
Right. And I can see if the Pacers were to continue their streak of having an all-star, TJ would be the one for next year. I think he could be a star if he can find a way to be consistent and really flourish into a number one on a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs. He can really, really, really shine with the Pacers, with Indiana, in a Paul George-like role. For sure.
Well, the Pacers had 5 guys in double figures tonight. 4 plus. They really had 4 guys in double figures, and then TJ Warren's 50. I was looking at the box score down the stretch, and I was thinking to myself, there's no way Philly's going to win this game.
Yeah,
because
we have straight depth.
You cannot give up 50 points to one player and allow 4 more of his teammates to get in double figures. There's no way you're going to win that game.
And if I think tonight more than anything proved that like guys like Bam, they can score. They can do whatever they want to Miles and whatever they want down low, but it takes more than that. It's going to take more than a 41 and 21 game from Embiid. It's going to take an all-around effort to beat this Pacers team, and that's a great thing to know during playoffs and the rest of the season.
Well, you also saw a coaching advantage with Nate McMillan because the Pacers showed some zone tonight, and it really took Philly out of their rhythm. I mean, they got a couple of high-low looks with Horford and Embiid, but the minute they took Horford out of the game, the Pacers went zone, and Philly just – I mean, if a team's in a shooting slump, that's the best weapon you can throw at them. The Pacers threw a 2-3 and a 3-2 out, against Philly's offense, and they just, I mean, it completely took them out of their rhythm.
Yes, sir.
And that's coaching. That is good coaching. That's Nate McMillan. I would look for the Pacers to give teams different looks defensively. I think the Toronto Raptors, when they made their run to the championship last year, really changed the NBA's look defensively, because before Toronto did that, the league was almost exclusively man-to-man. You did not see a lot of zone, and now Miami's playing a lot of 2-3 zone. You know, Dallas is playing zone. We're playing zone. I think everybody in the league now has to have some kind of a junk defense they can throw at anybody.
Yes, sir. Well, to conclude this talk, this review of the last game, let's talk about tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow, 4:00, we play Washington. What as a Pacers fan should we be looking for specifically in this game against Washington?
I would look for the Pacers. I mean, I would hope the Pacers would come out. They need to get off to better starts. That's the only negative trend I've seen in the bubble so far, is they tend to get off to slow starts.
That won't work in the playoffs.
The Wizards are a fringe playoff team at best. I was actually kind of surprised they got invited to the bubble in the first place.
Right.
Because they're not looking for the playoffs. Their ownership's not looking for it. The players are not looking for it. I mean,
at all.
So if I'm the Pacers, I want to put them out of their misery and kick them in the teeth early.
Yes,
you don't want to give a team that isn't fully committed to the playoffs any daylight.
All right.
So, I would look for the Pacers to keep having active hands defensively. If Brogdon plays, I would look for Victor and Malcolm to completely take. I would look for the Pacers' depth to wear down and strangle Bradley Beal defensively. I would look for Bradley Beal to score under 20 points. If they can hold him under 25 points, the Pacers will win because of their sheer depth and balance.
Right. Well, it was a great talk. Feeling super great about the team after today's game. Feeling even better about TJ Warren after today's game. And we'll probably get a review episode after the Washington game too, just to chop it up about what happens there.
Outstanding. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, great talk, Coach Jay. Pacer Nation, make sure y'all follow us at Pacer Station on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's Twitter. We'll have bigger and better things coming. Still going to get to those 2K gameplays. A lot of people have been asking about them. I'm going to get to them eventually. Got a lot of great Pacers content coming up. And an interview with a player might be in the works, possibly even. I've been talking to a couple of agents, and not going to name any names, but just be expecting some big things. Make sure you subscribe. And great talk, Coach Jay. Pacer Station, we are deuces.